All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam and K Marf, and the U.S. is rushing to contain Turkey-backed offensive against the SDF. Now, if you have not been following what has been going on in Syria, there is a lot of these events that do have a lot of importance here in the United States. And if you're watching from Australia, Europe, Canada, Mexico, wherever you're watching from, this is actually a very, very important conflict that is going on right now, because there has now been a vacuum created in the Middle East, and this is not a good thing. Essentially, one of our NATO allies is going up against one of our backed forces. The U.S. government is scrambling to address a Turkish-backed offensive targeting the Syrian Democratic Forces, or the SDF, in Syria following the fall of Bashar al-Assad. Now, again, SDF is not the HTS that this revolutionary new, Zelensky guy is leading, the ex-Al-Qaeda guy. This is actually one of the many groups they said that they've kind of unified, and that's trying to rebuild or go in and take power after this vacuum of Bashar al-Assad got taken out. Turkish officials have announced that Secretary of State Antony Blinken will visit Ankara on Friday. A statement from the State Department indicated that Blinken will discuss the importance of ensuring that the transition process and the formation of a new government in Syria respect the rights of the minorities and prevent Syria from being used as a base for terrorism. Now, mind you, this is the worry for a lot of people, that yes, Bashar al-Assad was a bad guy. He gets taken out. Well, who's the lesser of two evils here? The guy that is leading the group that essentially took them out in 11 days, which, again, they're saying didn't have any help. This group is led by a guy who used to be a part of the same groups that the U.S. put on their top wanted list. The guy is literally still on that list with a $10 million, $10 million bounty on his head. And that is because of his relation and his work with the wonderful group Al-Qaeda. As far as that goes, that, of course, tore down everything. Now there's this big vacuum, and everybody is kind of fighting for scraps and fighting to take some power from the Middle East. Now, Turkey is a powerhouse. They have one of the largest militaries in the Middle East. So anything that Turkey gets involved in on the opposite side of the U.S. is something to pay attention to. But not only this, Turkey has been super shady, especially in the last couple years since NATO has been expanding. Of course, they stuck in the way of, I believe, Finland and Sweden, or I'm sorry, Finland. I believe both, they kind of had their withdrawals unless they got something out of it. So we're going to talk about that, or maybe it was Poland. I'll get it straight here in a second. So stick around. We're going to talk about this and much, much more on tonight's episode of Marfoogle TV. Don't go anywhere. This is a show you do not want to miss. We're going to be talking about the drones over New Jersey, which they are now saying is possibly an Iranian mothership deploying drones over our homeland, which may have new technology from China to allow them to do so. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, let's get into it. We have a lot to go over. Before we get started, remember you have a full bibliography over on marfooglenews.com. You can find the full bibliography, every single article, tweet, video, picture, document. They will hunt you down. All you have to do is look for today's thumbnail. We're going to talk about how Russia is telling people to get out of the U.S. Very similar to what they just said to Syria. Said, hey, Russians, get out of Syria because something, you might be not wanting to be there. Now they're telling them to get out of here. What the heck is about to happen? Is it going to be a response for all of the stuff that has gone on, all of the times that we went over the red line and they basically just took it? Eventually, a lot of people believe that they won't take it. Let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I am doing just fine.
All right, so let's get back into it. We have, of course, Assad downfall was planned, and I want to point this out, quote, for the checkers here. This is being said by the Iran Supreme Leader, Ali Khamenei. And this is something I directly called. I said, we're going to see either Russia or Iran or somebody stating that this is the U.S. behind it. I've called it since day one, and now it's happening. Assad downfall was planned by the U.S., claims Iran's Supreme Leader. Dex, do you want to go over this?
Well, yeah, so, we, as much as we want to say, we, the West, had no idea it was going to happen so fast, and this was what happened, but it is clear that we were involved, at least that's what the view is from others out there, and says, especially the Ayatollah Khamenei says, hey, has claimed that the U.S. and Israel acted as the command center. Okay, so that's a big deal. A command center engineered the downfall of Syria's former president, Bashar al-Assad, and the ousting of Iran from the country. As you know, keep in mind, let's back up a little bit. Before this went down, Iran was implanted there. Their generals were there. They had military there. They had lots of support and stuff there. They were pulling them all out to save them because this was going down and they couldn't defend against it. They tried and it wasn't working. He also claimed that Iranian intelligence had sent warnings to the Assad government about a possible attack for 3 months and predicted Syrian youth would eventually recapture the country, remarks that are unlikely to make it easier for Iran to build a strong relation with the new leaders in Damascus. Of course, I don't know that anybody's expecting all of a sudden that, Iran, who basically supported Assad all the way through, is all of a sudden going to become best friends with the new leadership there, given the fact that they just overturned that leadership. And it feels like, or the appearance is, at least even to the population, that this was a monumental thing for them. And it probably is. For the people that were against Assad, it's a huge thing. They've got their freedom back, so to speak, or they've got their dictator out of the way. And there was mass migration out of Syria in the past. Now there's mass migration back to Syria just in the last week. A lot of people are coming back in and coming back from the other countries that they had migrated out to.
Yeah, this was a full regime change in 11 days. Again, this is, I just want to read you the definition here. Regime change is partly forcible or coercive replacement of one government regime with another. Regime change may replace all or part of the state's most critical leadership system, administrative apparatus, or bureaucracy. Regime change has happened many times, and our own officials have come out many times after the fact and said, yeah, it's pretty crazy actually how much the U.S. has gotten involved in regime changes, right? As far as this, I absolutely believe in the future they're going to come back to this and say, oh, absolutely. They're literally saying reportedly Washington was caught off guard by how fast this was. This group, and it doesn't matter how many smaller groups they got together, they weren't able to take Syria just like that without Syria having information from Russia or from China saying, hey, our radar says that they are targeting your palace. They're about to blow you off the map with their missiles. And then I'm guessing that they had to leave because they were thinking, okay, this is coinciding with strikes from the U.S. and Israel, which we know happened, right? They, of course, right after they took over, Israel was striking, strategic bases that they say are ISIS, and the U.S. was striking. Obviously, the memo went over to them. Now, what's crazy about this is if you say this, people will be like, oh, well, what are you agreeing with, Iran or whatever else? I wonder if they're going to look at this and it's so obvious that the U.S., in my opinion, is involved in this. That what if in the next week or so they're going to come out and say, oh, look at all of these creators that are, part of the resistance or something, and that these creators are copying or carrying the water for Putin. I'm not saying that Vlad is a good guy or the Khamenei or anything, but it's pretty obvious that the U.S. had parts in this, that their allies had parts in this. I mean, you don't just take over Syria in 11 days and have CNN interviews of the revolutionary guy that used to be part of another group that had help and had connections with three-letter agencies. It just doesn't make sense. It is the obvious. It's so obvious that everybody's going to call it out, or at least they should. And then, of course, they'll be able to go, oh, well, these guys are pointing out, that, this is the U.S. They're repeating the Ali Khamenei's line or whatever. I mean, does this not seem obvious? When I did the survey, 90-something% believed that this was either done by, in fact, 98% of the people out of 230 votes believed 98% of it was either the U.S. allowed it or helped with it. The majority of that said that they were basically directly a part of it. I don't know what the heck is going on here, but I will say this. There is something massive in the works with all of the other stuff that's going on at the same time. It is a very scary time. That is why we prep. I'm telling you, there is something in the works. And then Moscow threatens retaliation after Ukraine strikes Russia with 6 U.S.-made ATACMS, which no one is talking about this. Of course, Moscow threatens retaliation after, Ukraine used 6 ATACMS to hit serious targets inside of Moscow. Moscow has announced a very serious escalation out of Ukraine on Wednesday. Defense Ministry officials saying that 6 U.S.-made ATACMS ballistic missiles were launched against a Russian airfield inside the country's sovereign territory. Taganrog was a Black Sea port city in southwestern Russia and was targeted in the heavy attack. The military claimed that all 6 were able to be intercepted and downed before reaching their target. Dex, what do you think about this?
Well, it's a big deal. Like, every time they've used our missiles, it's it's against their doctrine. It's saying that the West is firing, the U.S. is firing missiles into Russia, even though it's coming out of the land of Ukraine. It has to come with the fact that there are people from the U.S. that are helping with the coordination of it, with the firing of it, with the putting in the coordinates and tracking it to its destination. So it can't be done alone. So to them being Russia, they feel like this is the U.S. attacking them. And their doctrine says if a country, even from another country, if it's backed by or its weapons are coming from a major nuclear adversary against it and striking in its country, that it has the right to use nuclear force back. So they actually have already, it's happened twice now that maybe 3 times actually, that they can literally use their existing doctrine that they put into law and strike back, either strike back in like kind or even strike back with nukes if they want it.
Yeah, they don't even need to use the new one. They can go off of their existing the existing doctrine before this update. This update almost makes me think that they're trying to make absolutely sure that everybody knows, like, hey, we told you they crossed every single red line under the old doctrine. We did a new one to maybe put out there that, hey, this is kind of a last chance kind of thing, or at least that's what people think that they're trying to, put out with this, that, hey, we don't want this, but we're about to do it. That's what some think. Some others think that Russia is, of course, trying to get something started. More people believe that it's not even the U.S., it's not Israel, it's not these groups, it's a group that we can't even see. It's a group of all of these countries that are trying to get something popping off because they have coin invested in almost all of this actually happening. It's so insane to me that a massive war that would take millions of lives will profit some of the very, very top people in this world. And it's just scary that some people are absolutely hoping, not only hoping, praying that we have a massive World War III. And that's really, really sad. Right now, Russia, as they have been struck with these 6 ATACMS, they have a mystery craft in space. And the Pentagon has been talking about this over the last week. Are we being set up for some sort of event? Well, we'll talk about it here in a second. They're actually telling Russians to actually get out and warning them that they may be hunted down. Before we move on, I want to make sure you guys make sure to check out Jace if you haven't already. This is a very simple telehealth appointment that you can do from the comfort of your couch. You can talk to a board-certified doctor and get yourself a kit of all of the most commonly prescribed antibiotics. You, of course, have the Jace case, which has that, and you can actually add on things like albuterol and fluconazole and others. Again, you can even get the stuff that Joe Rogan took and that CNN hated and made fun of him for. All sorts of great things can be added on. You can also check out the Jace Daily program, which is a 12-month extended supply of your prescription meds. When you go through Jace, not only are you getting a big discount with code MARF, but you're also helping our channel out. We are on our own. We're up against monsters in MSM, so we appreciate you guys not only just supporting us, but mostly the biggest thing is share us out, share us with a friend, share us with a Facebook group, share us with one of your neighborhood groups, whatever it is, share us out, get the word out there. Again, thank you guys for doing so. But having this kind of stuff on hand is an absolute must if you especially don't believe that some group is going to come save you in the event of a natural disaster or even worse, a man-made one. Marfooglenews.com/Jace. I mean, just look at North Carolina, look at Katrina, look at tons of different events where they completely screwed the pooch. So again, marfooglenews.com/Jace, Jase. All right, and then U.S. warns Russia may be ready to use new lethal missile against Ukraine again in, quote, coming days. Dex, they're talking about the new hypersonic missile that is unstoppable.
Right. So Russia, said that they're planning to retaliate. The U.S. is now warning, and this is coming from the Pentagon, warning that they believe that retaliation is going to be with this new Orishnik, or however you pronounce that new missile that they launched. If you guys remember, we talked about it a few weeks ago, that they had launched what everybody thought at the time was an ICBM, and it turned out to be a middle-range ballistic missile, but it was one of the newer, never before seen hypersonics. It does like Mach 10. Basically coming in faster and unstoppable, so to speak. At least that's their claim. And obviously it wasn't stopped. It made it right past everything and struck. And it had multiple warheads on it. It split off and hit multiple targets at the time. Now, they weren't nuclear warheads on them, but they can carry them. The secretary, a Pentagon spokesperson, told the reporters today that in the coming days, they expect to see this launch. They say they're now, of course, they downplay it as, Russia's trying to use every weapon that they have in the arsenal to intimidate Ukraine. But in reality, they also said we are seeing movement, like they've got movement over there preparing to launch another one of those. And they can see that from their intel. So if that launch could happen any day now, the big question we have to have is, when does Putin use a tactical? And would this be the time? I mean, he's certainly at that point as far as the red lines that have been crossed. That's the scary shift that will change everything in this war if that happens.
Yeah, and if we have a bigger escalation that has already happened, this is what people are expecting right now because of everything that is going down. As far as the timeline, look at the time that we're in right now. We're a little bit over 30 days until they change out presidents. This is when anything would go down. If anything was going to happen, it would happen right now. All of these other countries are looking at what most people agree on, even if they supported him, a weaker president. Even his own party definitely admits now that the guy is not all there. Not even that. They're admitting that even the people underneath him are not that all there right now. And that is because all of this drama that just went down with the Pick the Prez Day. So if they're in turmoil, if there's problems, then that's not going to make for the best White House. As far as the White House, it is one of the most powerful buildings in the world. And right now, if they don't trust that they're going to do anything, this is when other countries are going to jump in and try to take what they want. They're not going to wait until the Dawn is in place, which most people agree that at the very least, even if they don't like him, they will say that he is somebody that people really don't think bluffs. They think that he's for real when he says he's going to destroy you. And he's saying a whole lot. I mean, he is really saying he's going to wipe out everything. I don't think the people at the very top are going to take it lying down. And that's what people think has just happened. When he won, everybody thought, oh, everything is good and it's going to be all great. I don't think we're on the gravy train yet. What do you guys think? Let me know in the chat below. And thank you, Kenny Crowder. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you. Says good evening, Dex, mods, and Foogle fam. Got to say hi and be safe. Love your way. Well, thank you. And Neil Nelson, thank you, and thank you for the super. I appreciate that, Neil. And then, of course, Carol, I appreciate your support. Thank you, everybody that has popped in so far. And thank you, everybody that made it over from the news short we just did. Now, this was part of the quote. You may be hunted. Russia tells citizens not to visit the U.S., major Western countries. Russia said on Wednesday that relations with the United States are so confrontational that Russian citizens should not travel to the United States, Canada, or some EU countries because they are at risk of being, quote, hunted by U.S. authorities. Why they're saying this? Don't exactly know, but that is literally what they're saying, that they may be hunted. Dex, this almost sounds like something like, are they forewarning? Like, you may be hunted, not right now, but maybe in the future after some sort of attack. This is the same week they're saying that they have a mystery craft in space, and now they're saying, hey, you guys might want to get out of there or not visit because you may be hunted. This is different than the usual, oh, well, they might not enforce the law the same, and they might do this and that. They're actually using the words hunted. I don't know. It seems really off.
It's very provocative to make that statement. And it's one that will probably get their citizens upset, especially the ones that are traveling or thinking of traveling, to think maybe not to go. And it's definitely to scare the people when you use a term like that. I mean, usually when our State Department says it, it's like, you may face, questioning or detention, but they don't say they're going to hunt you down. Like they're going to look for you and find you. That's what Russia's putting out right now, is that, and I wonder what that means, or what people who are living in America who are Russian think when they see that. Like, do they believe that's going to happen, or do they feel like all of a sudden that's going to be the case? Now, I mean, in our climate right now, that's not an issue, but the point is, maybe something will happen. If Russia starts, attacking the U.S. literally on the mainland, that would change everything. And then, of course, we would probably start looking to see if there's any insiders in America that are, helping in part to do that. So, yeah, I think it's an ominous threat, but on one hand, but it's also very scary, probably a scare tactic to the population.
Well, would you want to know about this as just a regular person here in the United States? Would you rather know about this warning from Russia? Do you not think, like, this is the thing with our community and what we are trying to do? We're not saying that the world is ending tomorrow. We're saying during this period, we're at a higher risk for serious events to happen. And people should be prepared for the possibility of this, just in the same way that the military or any of these other groups that nobody calls crazy, they drill for the probable events. Now, if you look at what is happening right now, there are some very, very openly probable events which may happen. And right now, we're at high risk. I would rather know that Russia is telling its citizens that they may be hunted than not, because honestly, that's a very weird thing to say. It could be whatever version of saber rattling that people always want to call it. But right now, with all of the strife happening all around the world, this is something that I think most people would want to know. So I hope people share this show out with everybody they know. I hope that people are watching and that they're head on the swivel for the next month, because right now is the time that something would happen. We know this because the last 6 months have been absolutely nuts, and it didn't just stop. I mean, they tried to take out the next prez. By a millimeter, they failed. And that millimeter would have caused a civil conflict like we've never seen. That's what most believe, and I personally believe it as well. I think that it would have really, really been a huge deal. And then let us know what you think in the chat below. I'd love to hear from you. And let me see. I wanted to make sure. I'm trying to find a new way to put some stuff on here and to get the chat on screen. So thank you guys for popping in. All right. And then South Korean minister tried to spark conflict with the North as pretext for martial law. And again, remember, these are headlines that could come from super bias or opinions. Almost all of the news is now just an opinion. But right now, there's been a lot of weird stuff going on in South Korea. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol actually declared martial law. For about 6 hours, everybody was freaked out. They had curfews. They had soldiers essentially stopping lawmakers from coming into the building. And this was all because he said funky business was going on and that the Democratic Party was actually trying to impeach people and do all this shady stuff. The same party that he says is sympathetic to the North Koreans and Kim Jong-un, the crazy rocket man. So as far as this goes, South Korea former Defense Minister Kim Jong-hyun, very close, isn't it, ordered a drone deployment to North Korea to lay ground for martial law declaration. It has been alleged. It says Park Byum-ki, a lawmaker from the main opposition Democratic Party, said on Monday that Mr. Kim ordered the deployment of drones to the North Korean capital, Pyongyang, in October, hoping to instigate a retaliatory attack from the North to use it to justify last week's martial law declaration. So this is a big claim. They're essentially claiming that the drones, which South Korea actually denied, they said, we didn't do it. They're saying, yes, you sent drones over to try to get the North to do something. Even if this is just claimed or if it is true, either way, it looks like they're trying to pop off a war between North and South Korea. North Korea has already destroyed and blew up all of the roads and the railroads between the two countries, and they have destroyed all of their unification statues, some being 120 feet high. They have literally blown them up. They have no hope of reunifying. There's no chance of peace, and now you've got one side of the party, which almost looks like you've got people on the inside stating, oh, well, they're trying to start a war. Is that the truth? Either way, it looks like they're trying to get something started. Dex, this is a huge accusation by the Democratic Party.
Yeah, it certainly is. And, as you remember, the North found a drone there, and they even declared that they will go to war. They will strike if another one comes in. So this could very well have been the whole idea of, instigating a conflict between the North and the South, if these allegations are true. If they're not true, then these are some pretty strong allegations to be placing upon your opposition, your political opposition there. And neither one of these sides are really friendly with one another. Just like we see across the globe, it seems like the division in the political spectrum is very strong. And it's carrying on here. So, but yeah, that's what they're suggesting, that they not only did they order them then, but they were probably ordering more to instigate the conflict so they could roll out this martial event law that everybody was placed under.
Yeah, and this is happening worldwide. If you think that there's nothing on the horizon, then you are putting your head in the sand. You're completely blind to the geopolitics of the world going south in every country. And as far as this goes, I mean, look at every country. They're having a left versus right, R versus, the D. It's like everything is going south, and it's all happening like there's some sort of group up above it all making decisions for the rest of them. Sounds more likely that that's the truth. Dex, go ahead.
Well, and they're continuing to investigate Yoon, right? That's an ongoing investigation. And this investigation is also expanded, and Kim is part of it. So this guy was arrested. He was arrested Wednesday under charges for the erection, that same word that we use here, and has been brought in for further questioning at the detention center. If he's found guilty, and any of the others are found guilty in this martial law declaration, they could actually face life in prison or even the death penalty. So it's pretty strong consequences.
Well, and the defense minister, the current one, that says even if they do declare this again, which is crazy, if they did have to declare martial again, the new defense minister, which is only there because the old one was essentially forced to resign, he will not follow the orders. I mean, think about that in the terms of like in our country, where Mark Milley was saying, well, yeah, if the Dawn tries to launch a nuke at China, I'm in between him and the nukes. I'm going to say, no, I'm not going to follow that order. And I'll even call China and give him a heads up. I mean, that's kind of what looks like is going on over there. Dex, go ahead.
Well, remember the FBI raid at Mar-a-Lago? Well, in South Korea, the police raided the presidential office and the police headquarters as part of their investigation. However, security guards tried to block the police from searching Mr. Yoon's office. A spokesperson for the police said that the investigators had gained access to civil services offices, but they were unable to enter the main building due to the access restrictions imposed by the presidential security guards. So, doesn't that sound very familiar?
There's a war going on right now, and it's a war that nobody even can put a finger on. It's a war that is in the shadows, but it's very obvious to those who have eyes. And then we have North Korea breaks silence. So, Dex, what did they actually say about the whole Marshall incident, and what is their official statement?
Well, they came out and they described South Korea as having social unrest. I think that's the gist of it. They basically used it as an opportunity to say, hey, North Koreans, look how crazy those people are down in South Korea, and that their government is suspended, they're in disarray, and they have social unrest going on right now. So, the KCNA also said the shocking incident of the puppet Yoon Suk-yeol regime, which was faced with a serious governance crisis and an impeachment crisis, suddenly declared martial law decree and unhesitatingly wielded the guns and knives of its fascist dictatorship. So basically calling South Korea a dictatorship and calling the president there one. And went on. So they basically used this as an opportunity to point the finger and make fun of and talk bad about the South there.
Doesn't this? I mean, this is like, this is who they're saying is if Kim Jong-un is calling him a puppet, maybe he's not that bad of a guy. I don't know. It seems like one side of the party is literally agreeing with Kim Jong-un and sounding just like him. But who knows? What if we've been lied to our whole life and Kim Jong-un is actually just a really nice guy? I mean, heck, Dennis Rodman likes him. Before we move on, make sure to go check out EMP Shield. With all of these crazy events going on, there is something that you can actually protect yourself against, and that is an EMP strike from any of our adversaries. Right now, with mystery vehicles in space, of course, Chinese drones or Iranian drone motherships flying off our coastlines, highly recommend going and getting protected against an EMP. It is one of the more likely scenarios because it does not actually take any lives directly. In fact, it would take 90% of the country out, but that is not in the direct hit of it. It would be in the first year because we would lose all infrastructure. That is why it's incredibly important not only to protect yourself against EMP and CME and a Carrington level event from the sun with this, but also to have food and water prepped up. It is something that if you've been doing over time, you could have even spent as little as $5 a week and gotten relatively stocked up if you've been following our show. But this device will ground that signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your car, truck, motorcycle, boat, generators. If you have a gas generator, definitely want to get the generator model. and it can even protect your home. Once you wire this into your home, which that is probably the most complex out of any, and anyone could do it themselves, but it depends on what state and your local laws are. But if you can get this wired in by an electrician or wired into your own house, it's going to protect everything within 250 linear feet from where it is wired in, which is the distance of most houses. That means all of your devices after multiple EMP strikes or a CME from the sun or a Carrington level event will still run. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. Again, the car version, that is super quick. You don't have to be a mechanic or a handyman. You can put it in yourself in about 10 minutes. 3 wires, black to black on your battery, red to red on your battery, and then green to ground or a part of your frame. And then you're good. Again, marfooglenews.com/EMP, code MARF, not only to save $50 off per device, but also that stacks on top of all of their sales, whether it be a Black Friday sale, all the way to Valentine's Day, whatever it may be that they are running, that will always stacks. It's grandfathered in. marfooglenews.com/EMP. Make sure to use the code MARF. And then Russia to send Soviet-era fighter jets to North Korea in exchange for troops. So they're actually, basically Vlad is talking to Kim and saying, hey, we need some more of your guys. They say that at least 10,000 North Koreans are already on the battlefield or have perished on the battlefield. They've talked about troops, squadrons of troops coming from North Korea. Well, now they're giving North Korea some of the more advanced tools in exchange for boots on the ground. This is incredibly worrying, considering what we just talked about with now that it sounds like they're trying to spark off North Korea and South Korea, which I've said I believe is going to be the trigger to a bigger weapon that starts World War III. And now they're giving them possibly more advanced jets. Russia has agreed to provide North Korea with MiG-29 and Su-27 fighter jets as a quid pro quo for Pyongyang's transfer of thousands of its troops to bolster Russia's war effort in Ukraine. Imagine being part of a squadron, and essentially thousands of lives are essentially traded for a plane. It's just crazy. It's like their actual worth. It probably comes down to a few dollars each. Dex, these aren't the top of the line, but these are a formidable jet, and it's not good to have North Korea have them.
Yeah, certainly. They are not, they're still Soviet era models, but they're considered formidable weapon, according to the Admiral. He stressed that, saying that this is a big deal. But look, I think this may be the cover, right? Because everybody, ourselves included, has said, yeah, they sent that over there, but we know that Russia's helping North Korea, advance their submarine capabilities, advance their nuclear capabilities, advance their space capabilities, all these things that would be much more nefarious than some Su-27s and some MiG fighter jets, right? That kind of thing you would just expect. So I kind of think that this is the surface level. Let's make the public sort of see, we're not supposed to do anything because sanctions aren't going to allow us to, but they're going to do it. So we'll let the public see that what we're going to do is give them some MiG-29s and Su-27s. But under the covers, what's really happening is they're giving them technology. They've been doing it for years. And I'm sure Kim came in and said, you know what, I need this, or I can't figure this out, or I could use help expanding that. I need some of that. And that's what's really going on. And that's the part that should be more worrisome than some jets. I mean, F-35s can handle these jets all day long. I'd be more concerned about the advancement of technology, the advancement of nuclear technology, the ability to shrink down nuclear capabilities and make, longer ICBMs with less weight, things like that. That type of stuff that they can get from Russia, and hypersonic.
And or technology to make smaller tactical nukes. They already gave them a super EMP weapon. When they first learned, if you remember this, and we've talked about it before, but North Korea was on the news all the time because they kept registering earthquakes in North Korea. And at the time, there were these smaller earthquakes, and scientists were looking at it and going, oh, well, they don't have these big nukes that they're saying they have. The earthquakes represent a small, low-yield nuke. Well, we found out later through actual documents that essentially now they knew back then that they were testing low yield nukes on purpose, because low yield is what you would use for a super EMP weapon. Then Russia later on admitted, yeah, well, they might have gotten a super EMP weapon from us. We might have given them it, or they might have taken it. We don't know. But there was some sort of trade. So in the future, what else will be traded? And North Korea also has something weird up in space. Almost all of them do, including China with its new space station and some weird secretive project that's up there as well. Not to mention their claims that they're building miles-long structures up there. Who really knows? And then JB approves national security memo on China, Iran, North Korea, and Russia ahead of T-Man's return. So before our last prez takes our next prez spot, they have actually put out a official memo. JB has approved a new national security memorandum ahead of the Donald's return to the White House that could serve as a roadmap for the incoming administration as it looks to counter growing cooperation among China, Iran, North Korea, and Russia. The JB administration officials began developing the guidance this summer, as if they already knew this was going to happen, right? It was shaped to be a document that could help the next administration build its approach from day one on how it deals with the tightening relationships involving America's most prominent adversaries and competitors, according to two senior administration officials. The officials who, of course, spoke on the condition of anonymity, underground rules set by the White House, said that the classified memorandum would not be made public because of the sensitivity of some of the findings. Of course, right? So behind closed doors, they're making these stupid memorandums. We don't know what is actually being said in them and what they're actually talking about. The document includes 4 broad recommendations improving U.S. governmental interagency cooperation, speeding up the sharing of information with allies about the 4 adversaries, calibrating the U.S.'s government use of sanctions and other economic tools for maximum effectiveness, and bolstering preparation to manage simultaneous crises involving adversaries. You could read that from top to bottom and see exactly what I've been saying for years. I know, Dex, you see this too. Calibrating the government's uses of sanctions. Look at how we've talked about how China is literally hoarding all sorts of resources, including food, wheat, natural gases, gold, everything under the sun. They are hoarding, and that is because they are preparing for possible sanctions. They also want to open up the classified system, or at least they've done these small changes, which we've covered, where they're trying to make it so it's easier to even give corporations or big companies that would possibly manufacture things, say a Q-tip factory gets turned into a bullet factory, that they would be able to essentially label certain things in a classified way where they're secret, but they're not so top secret that they have to go through a bureaucratic loophole to actually share the information so they can share it quickly. Also, so they can share with allies and do it almost instantly. This is something that happens during a world war or during a massive war where they need to basically do everything super, super fast. And then bolstering preparation to manage simultaneous crises involving the adversaries. Are not people not putting this together? Multiple peer-to-peer adversaries. Dex, I think it almost spells it out clearly, even though they're not telling us the full context of it. They're basically saying it. They're preparing for sanctions when China takes Taiwan. They're preparing for multiple crises to go down all at the same time. And they're preparing to be able to share with allies super quickly under a huge, huge war.
Well, yeah, look, they wanted war. They want a war with Russia. They want a war with North Korea. They want a war with China and Iran. They want that. The warmongers want that. And the incoming president, the Don, is not one in favor for that. He's more in favor of stopping all of that. So anything that they can do in advance to sort of to create the, even with just a memorandum, which I know if you think about it, it's just a piece of paper, right? But what they're trying to do is spell out and lay out something that they can use against him and say, look, You can't go have conversations with them. You can't go have peace with them because we're supposed to be an enemy with them. And we're supposed to be fighting with them. And I think that part of what this is a major setup in advance of the Don stepping in so that they have as much power. And I don't want to say this is really powerful, but it's at least, another point that they can point to and say, look at what a bad job you're doing because you're not adhering to the principles or the information that was put out by the U.S. government before you came into office.
And of course, New Jersey congressman, we just did a short on all of this, is straight up saying that he's saying, I'm going to tell you the real deal. There is a Iran mothership off of our East Coast releasing drones that are flying over New Jersey. Now, I'm sure if it turns out in a week, they're like, no, it was actually a hobbyist. It's a YouTuber named, Darren Makes Drones or something. That, yeah, a bunch of people will be like, oh my gosh, it's Iran. I'm not exactly freaked out, but at the same time, it gave me chills to think about the possibility that this is possibly true. The fact is this has been going on for over a month. We have talked to New Jerseyans that have said that this is not only happening, it is absolutely nuts. There have been videos, again, non-verified videos, but they're popping up all over, of people trying to get their drones up, which is one of the first questions I had is, everybody's got drones, fly a drone up there and get a close-up shot of what the hell these things are. They're saying that they're car-sized drones. How are you not getting extremely clear pictures? Where is somebody with a Canon, 200 to 500 millimeter lens, long exposure, getting a shot of these damn things? But again, they do have videos of Black Hawk helicopters trying to find these things and flying super low and doing all sorts of loops trying to find the damn things. They have now all of this involved the same way that the government and the media got involved with the balloons. And everybody considered that that was complete BS and that it was a clown show. But at the same time, I think that it was part distraction and part something happening. As far as this goes, we know that there's something happening above New Jersey. As far as the rest of the country, I don't know about all of these other videos. I think most of them are people taking videos of planes and being paranoid. But over New Jersey, there was an issue. And we're talking about on a coastline. This guy said point blank, he says at the same time as saying, oh, this is the real deal. It is an Iranian mothership, like he has actual knowledge, says an Iranian mothership came in a month ago and is releasing drones over it. Doesn't know how they refuel, doesn't know where they stop or how they are keeping up in the air this long, but is saying that this mothership is putting him out. At the same time as saying, well, it's very probably true. So he's not exactly putting 1,000% on it, but he's saying this is the real deal. I've got a very high and confident and extremely responsible source on this that's way up there, and they're saying that this is an Iranian mothership. This is the same technology we talked about with China, where China can release this kind of stuff. China has an amphibious or an assault carrier that is a autonomous assault carrier. So it can be, every person on board can be taken out and it will still run, because not only does it run off of AI principles and autonomous drone technology, but it literally doesn't have to have anybody on board, and it can actually deploy. So is this China? And they're saying it's Iran? Is it Iran and they got it from China? What the hell is going on here? That is what's so creepy about it. Dex, go ahead.
Well, yeah, and look, as much as the headline and even what the congressman said sounds like an Iranian mothership sitting off the coast, whether it's in the air, which it's not, or sitting in the water, which it could be, is feeding these drones, right? Let's think about what that would realistically mean. What that would realistically mean, if you take the headline at face value, is there's an Iranian ship sitting there. Well, that's not necessarily happening because you'd be able to see it. But what literally could be happening is you could have a ship that maybe have Iranian controls on it, or at least Iranian people on it, under the guise of containers or shipping, which could be China, because they come into every port on the East Coast just as much as they do on the West Coast. Okay, that's not out of the norm to see Chinese flagged ships Okay, so that's the scenario that is more likely to be, is that if there is a ship doing this, it's not like there's a military vessel sitting off our waters and we don't see it and we can't do anything about it. It's probably disguised, or it's probably small, and it probably looks like something else. It might be even flagged as another country. It might be owned by a company that's owned by China. It might be, captained by some, Iranian person, because they want to have plausible deniability, and they may be testing this type of technology, and it's not Iranian technology, it's going to be Chinese technology. And if it isn't even Iranians doing it, more than likely it's still going to be Chinese that are doing it, because they're the ones with the advanced technology in the drones.
Yeah, and this could be a container ship. We have seen, let me show you this, and most of you have already seen this, container weapon systems. So you guys have all seen this. Some of you, maybe not. Obviously, they have all different types. It wouldn't be something like this. This is more like the U.S. military has, and somebody controls with an Xbox controller. But something like this, right? Or actually, this is a perfect example. So you could have something like this actually deploy a drone. We've seen systems like this in such Hollywood movies as, I believe, Angel Has Fallen. One of the Gerard Butler films where they showed the back of a truck launch a bunch of drones. These drones autonomously picked out their targets based on facial recognition, that kind of thing. But these could be surveillance drones that are launched from the New Jersey port. It is a port city. So you have that there as well. So I highly doubt it would be an airborne ship. We're not in steampunk steampunk world quite yet. There is no Avengers carrier up in the sky, but there could be something like this, and takes off in the dead of night with possible Chinese technology, which I showed you just December 6th. Why the timing of this? Why does it come out that they have this invisibility cloak, and why are they telling us now? Is it because later they're going to have to tell us, hey, they actually have stuff up there that we can't even see? And if we do physically see it, we're afraid to take it down because we don't know if there is a bioweapon on the damn thing, or that there could be an explosive on it. And that would cause even a bigger issue. So yeah, Club K container missile system right here pictured. What if it's something like this, only instead of missiles, it is launching drones? Very possible 3 of those car-sized drones, or 4 of them, could be taking off. The roof could move over to the side, and 4 of these things could take off and land and even refuel. You could have one container be a gas container and the other being something else. We don't know, but I guess we will see. So yeah, what do you guys think it is? And if you see the video of him saying it, it is very, very creepy. Make sure to go check out Harvest Right, especially right now until the 31st. They have extended, because so many people missed Black Friday sale, they extended it up to $900 off, one of the best deals on the Harvest Right systems. It is our recommendation if you're trying to get into freeze drying your own food. It is way cheaper than buying pre-packaged food. Obviously, you have great affordable options like, of course, Patriot Supply and things like that. But if you want to have high quality, or the quality that you want, if you want to have your own dietary stuff put in here, if you want to freeze all of your garden and you don't want anything to go to waste, you want to be able to thrift shop your food and freeze dry it yourself, this is the option. They make some of the best machines in the world. They were extremely hard to get during CV. If you remember, these things were being scalped at crazy prices because people were buying them, hoarding them, and putting them out. So in the next disaster, these things will be impossible to get, just like they have been during every disaster. So again, make sure to go check it out, especially right now, because you're going to get up to $900 off. The normal sale, I believe, the normal kind of discount you get with all of the channels is about $300 off. The biggest one we saw was last Black Friday at like $500 off. On certain models, you can get up to $900 off right now. So go to marfooglenews.com/freeze. You're supporting independent news. We are completely on our own. So thank you guys for supporting us. Otherwise, I don't think we would still be here. We also have to defend ourselves against monsters. So again, thank you for sharing us out and getting us to other people. marfooglenews.com/freeze. If you can't afford one, which again, it is an investment, make sure to go over and enter to win at, again, marfooglenews.com/freeze. Dex, as far as the drones go, we'll be following it. And again, you guys got to subscribe, hit the notification bell to all. Dex, I hope that this ends up being some guy in his garage, but now it's looking more and more like it's not.
It's got to be governmental, and I'm more fearful that it's adversarial, and that's the biggest concern. Is like, how the hell are we not responding faster? How is this taken over a month for us to figure out? And even then, we still can't even get politicians to agree to create a state of emergency, or the DoD to admit that there's a problem and go do something about it. Like, why isn't anything taken out of the sky? Why aren't they flying, choppers right up against these and taking imagery of them and understanding what it is? I mean, we have the capability. Like, what in the world are we doing, and why are we letting it go so long? That's the biggest question. What does that mean? Is that what we're going to do when it happens to California? Is that what we're going to do when it's in Seattle, when it's in Texas? Are we going to take forever to respond? This could very well be a real world test from one of our adversaries, and we're failing miserably.
Yeah.
Go check out that short. It's important. That short video we did over on News, guys, go find it, share it with your friends, because it goes into great detail on all these drones going on.
What if they're testing that new stealth technology? What if at the same time they know that this is going to take a response? What if they're also testing spotting our subs? They say they have a new satellite that has microwave technology that's able to spot our subs anywhere in the sea. So what if we have our subs respond to this, because our military goes, okay, well, we don't know what this is. They have subs come off of the coast of New Jersey, and they're able to test finding it. Who knows? But again, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. I definitely want to throw a huge, huge thank you out to Kenny Crowder. Thank you for being top supporter tonight. Neil Nelson and Carol, thank you, and thank you. Neil Nelson also, by the way, thank you for It All Lines Up. December, that show, you did a super thanks. I appreciate it. Thank you, and thank you. And then, of course, new members and rejoiners. Thank you, Rip Curl, one of our most awesome mods. Go check him out on marfooglenews.com/friends. You also have Quinn Trust just joined, again, rejoined. Thank you, Maui Racing Realtor. It's nice to see you. I again missed you for a while there. Stacy Elaine, Seeking Truth, Dustin Royal, Viv B, again, long time subscriber. Thank you, Laura Gittens, and Brainstorm Warning this month. I appreciate you. Over on DLive, I hope you guys are doing well, and I'm sorry that we can't be streaming over there. We are going to try to fix it. Again, there is an issue between, I believe, Comcast and Restream right now. So we'll be trying to get up the other platforms here soon. And then, again, thank you, and thank you. Make sure, go over and support all of our awesome mods. They are keeping the house held down, and they're helping folks down in the chat. Thank you, Bobby Sue. Thank you, Bones, Chance, CJ, Optical Gem, Jammer, Lisa R. Hall, Rip Curl Readiness, awesome channel, RGL Harris, Ilea, wonderful woman, Trinity, super smart, is deep diving into all sorts of crazy subjects, and then Wages World, covering all of the solar activity. Recently they both hit 6,000 and 61,000, so congratulate them and make sure to go subscribe. All right, you guys, have a wonderful night. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro, it's not a shout out, it's a shoutro. And we'll be ported over, and again, if you're here, you'll be ported over to Jams. It will just be a moment. Joe Brunner, thank you for subscribing, and have a wonderful night.